Hello and welcome to In the Spotlight with Quocirca, the definitive podcast on digital disruption in the print industry. I'm Louella Fernandez, Director of Quocirca, and today I'm joined by Steve Inch, Principal of Print Security Strategy and Product Management at HP. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because HP's made some very exciting and significant developments around security over the past year. So we'll be talking quite a bit about print security specifically, HP's approach to zero trust print architecture, and we'll delve into their unique security solutions. So welcome to the show, Steve. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you, Louella. It's an honor to be with you today.
So I know you've been at HP for some time previously, and you've obviously moved into a new role. So could you tell us a bit about your career history and your role at HP?
It's great to be with you today. My role at HP as the principal strategist, it's a great role, something I'm very, very passionate about. So it's an honor to be at HP. Prior to that, I was with J. Walter Thompson. I worked on launching the Ford Taurus and the Ford Ranger, working with all the Ford dealer advertising activities, worked with Micron Technology, as well as Cellular One and Sprint. And then had my own Marcon agency for about 15 years, and then joined HP. So have had the opportunity to really help to build the HP print security brand for the last 15 years.
Excellent. And security has really been a key focus for HP for some time. And, it's really led the market in terms of the focus on print security and the need to protect devices from compromise. And I know you've made some really significant developments over the past year. And so I'm curious to understand a bit more about how HP is continuing to drive security differentiation across the device, data, and also document security.
At HP, we really strive to build the most secure and resilient endpoint devices in the world. And it's an absolute priority for us. And it is really core to our DNA as a company. We have spent over 2 decades in security innovation, as well as helping the governing bodies to help establish new standards across the security landscape. Working with NIST, for example, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and their individual teams working on new cryptographic technologies and others. It's been a real honor to be able to participate in really establishing security and also the new standards and new innovations. You can say that as a company, we really have prioritized keeping our customers and our partners what we call future ready when it comes to threats, and helping to protect them, their end users, and their businesses. So when we look at our innovation, it's really critical that we are looking at innovating across not only the device capabilities, but also security solutions and services. And we've really helped over the years to continue to drive new standards across PCs and printers. Speaking about print in specific, our enterprise printers come out of the box with some unique proprietary HP technologies that not only protects the BIOS at boot up with self-healing capability, but also at the memory level. We have a memory shield, which goes into protection and continuous monitoring and self-healing of any malware or zero-day attacks that actually hit the memory. We also do a great deal with solutions and services on top of that. And then our connection inspector capability also focuses on the network outbound communications from the printers to remote servers. The thing about our HP enterprise devices that's really fascinating is they are really security intelligent printers that self-heal and self-monitor without human intervention. And that's a real uniqueness to the work that our HP Labs, security lab, has done over the years, and the work our personal systems team also does. And we work very collaboratively together. So from a data and document perspective, we continue to enhance our HP device capabilities like secure encrypted printing. When you send a print job, it is secure no matter what channel it goes through, whether it's encrypted data. We at HP are working closely with our workforce solutions partners These are independent software vendors that we work very closely with. A number of years ago, established the first ever secure development lifecycle assessment certification. And while that's a mouthful, it's really helping ISVs be secure in how they develop software. And that is true of any software that is running on HP devices, as well as our own HP firmware on our printers. We also look across data loss detection and data loss prevention solutions. So you'll see a mix of branded HP solutions, as well as our partner solutions that really focus on that document and data security capabilities. The other piece that's critical is fleet security compliance. We offer customers and partners a very unique software capability called Security Manager that really has three key capabilities. One is to automate and simplify how security policies are applied to the entire fleet of printers. We also enable the device certificates deployment, critical for a zero trust environment to really identify that individual device. And then we also have embedded a firmware vulnerability assessment capability that we also offer to channel partners that is a standalone cloud solution that is a tool they can use to immediately, in mere minutes, identify the vulnerabilities across a broad HP fleet and really identify which devices are running very vulnerable firmware. So all of this is wrapped up into that security manager capability from a solutions perspective. Inherent with our security as well is that there's always a conflict between how do you make a device very secure and the ease of use of that. And what we've seen, interestingly, and this is kind of the first time we've seen this in the industry, where when you think about multi-factor authentication, consumers are even ahead of enterprise. And what I mean by that is we have been very well trained to adopt multi-factor authentication when we're going online, doing online banking, and these kinds of things. And so what's interesting is we've seen a huge spike in adoption of multi-factor authentication on the consumer side that is working its way into the enterprise. So there's an interesting dynamic there that we're seeing as a trend.
I think it just shows how extensive security capabilities need to be across the print infrastructure. And you mentioned about compliance there and the need also to assess and ongoing monitoring of the print environment. And, I think that's a really interesting point as well about multi-factor authentication, that it's now so commonplace in our sort of individual lives that it needs to be applied more consistently in the print environment as well.
It's fascinating to see how we can take and simplify enterprise-related security capabilities and bring those down and make them simple and easier to use and available for small and medium business and for channel partners and for enterprise as well, but also that upward movement, as you're saying, from a usability perspective.
Yeah, so absolutely having that sort of real balance with security and also productivity. So not hindering productivity by introducing a lot of security features that might inhibit productivity. So I think, like you said, that's a key challenge. So in terms of kind of just switching gears a bit in terms of trends you're seeing in the market around printing, and is there anything in particular you can share around printing trends in the hybrid workplace and what kind of security challenges this is creating, and if you're seeing anything specific amongst your customers?
Yes, it's fascinating actually, and I'll point us back to the March timeframe of 2020, when really it was the first wave of the pandemic. It was actually incredibly striking when you took a map of the pandemic and it spread geographically. And then you layer it over where threat activity was happening. It was almost a direct correlation. And it brought to mind this magnetic ability that threat actors have to seek out the weakness in networks. And it's uncanny, but it's also fascinating, because what we identified is that with the onset of the pandemic, of course, everyone was working from home. It wasn't like here's a hybrid strategy, and you can work remotely and work from home. Everyone was forced to work from home. So what it did is we were candidly globally unprepared for locking down the security aspects of the home network from which we were working. And we saw an interesting spike. In fact, it was about 600% increase in threat activities in the home and across the landscape. And the reason was, one of the reasons, is that threat actors were quickly understanding that a lot of home Wi-Fi routers and networks were unsecured. That has evolved today. So individuals may have had no encryption, no passwords on their routers. They may have just had WEP capability on it, which is not as secure, of course, as what we have today with WPA2 and 3 encryptions on the Wi-Fi networks. So what they were doing is accessing remote devices through unsecured home network activity, and then working to get ever escalating permissions into the broader corporate network through other avenues, whether it's breaching a weaker VPN or some other connection that they were looking at. So that's really was their end goal. And so what we're seeing today, though, is ISPs have really made great strides in ensuring default out-of-box security with passwords and with WPA3 capabilities. So what that has introduced, though, is the potential for threat actors to move laterally among the home devices, because it's very often that someone has a voice assistant or a smart television. And so you see that this this threat landscape within the home environment, or even a remote, I'm at a coffee shop and I'm just going to get on the guest Wi-Fi and I'm not thinking so much about my security. And these are avenues of access and exploit. So this is one of the realities, is as we move and become more mobile, we have to really keep top of mind the security that is really required, especially when we're working with sensitive data and information.
And I think that leads us nicely into the next question or topic around artificial intelligence, because obviously there's AI has really exploded into the technology landscape, and HP is obviously very active in this space, particularly on the personal systems side. And there's been, the recent announcement with Microsoft and Copilot plus AI-enabled PCs. I think it's really becoming a double-edged sword around AI, in that it's really helping drive productivity, but there are cybersecurity risks as well. So really interested to hear HP's strategy around AI and how it's planning to integrate AI into its security portfolio.
Oh, absolutely. AI is a double-edged sword. It is a fascinating capability. It is a generational opportunity for all of us. At HP, we look at it and approach it from a very balanced perspective. There are multiple ways to implement AI. There are multiple methodologies and techniques that fall within the category of AI. And we want to be cautious about getting spun up in the emotional fervor that exists today around generative AI. And it's the ease of use of a chat, GPT or other capabilities now that really add to that fuel of honeymoon period I feel we're in with AI. From an HP perspective, we do not just build AI into our devices for the sake of having AI, so that we can say we have AI. That is not the approach. It's all about focusing on enhancing customer value and the ability to improve efficiencies in digitization and workflows, especially from a printing perspective. This is why in March we spoke to the perfect print concept around how we can improve the user experience and streamline productivity, leveraging AI capabilities not only in our workflow, but we look at it from really two perspectives when it comes to security. We all have the ability to access AI, and we have the ability to develop AI. That also means threat actors have the capability to do the same. And what we have seen back in 2018, new malware was created every 4 seconds. Today, with the advent of more generative AI and access to tools that can be used, AI and new malware-driven AI and ransomware is being created in mere milliseconds. It's becoming more diverse. It's becoming much more, I guess you could just say it's morphing much more quickly. And this is a dynamic that we're seeing, as well as, so as a result, it's broadening the threat attack surface. And especially with hybrid workers, we have this reality that we need to be very cautious about how we implement AI and think in terms of an offensive approach and how threat actors are implementing it, and then looking at what is the best method to drive value and protect our customers and their end users with the use of AI from a defensive perspective. So we're looking at both of those. It's really critical to look at AI, and from an HP perspective, we look at it very holistically. We're looking at AI not just from a device perspective. We're looking at where can AI apply across the entire end-to-end journey, including supply chain, platform security, where when we're sourcing components, what's occurring in the factory, all the way through distribution, working with our channel partners. We're looking at the opportunities in the journey for where threats occur, in use, of course, in the production environment and customer environments. We then extend it to what happens when you want to recycle your device. It's end of life. What happens from a sustainability and a security perspective. So we look at the entire scope of the journey. And this is really a critical aspect to how we approach the application of AI in our print environments, as well as in our personal systems environments.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's really interesting. You sort of mentioned about AI being relevant across the whole life cycle of a device, and not just the hardware, but the software, the services, solutions, but also the supply chain and production. And I think you made a really important distinction there between generative AI and the more sort of, I guess, machine learning AI, which is really focused on the areas like product development, predictive maintenance, support. And I think it's very easy to get swept up in the, as you say, the fever around generative AI, but some of the real value and business outcomes is actually in how machine learning is applied across the life cycle. So it's definitely something that we'll be watching closely, and I know HP is already very advanced in terms of its capabilities on the PC systems and the print side. So I think it's an exciting time for AI, particularly in cybersecurity.
It really is. It's fascinating, and security is a team sport. It's just how it is. And you cannot be successful if you are not looking at it in that manner. We're fortunate as a team to have our HP Security Lab out of Bristol, where we're innovating across cryptography. We're innovating around global threat intelligence and analytics. We are doing a lot in helping to influence and support the NIST standards for new, innovative, and evolutionary cryptographic and encryption standards. It's a great way to bring in a collaborative global team. I mean, it's a sport. So let's make the best of it and let's win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you mentioned, just to touch on that aspect of how AI is democratizing cybersecurity as well, in a sense that now you can get, ransomware as a service, and it's very easy for the cyber criminals to create these ransomware attacks because AI is making it more accessible. And I think from HP Security Labs, having been there and also at the recent security analyst event you held, it was really interesting to understand how HP is as you say, got that collaborative approach to at an R&D level, as well as that constant monitoring of the threat landscape. So it was very valuable to understand more of that at the event last year.
It was great to have you have an opportunity to go to Bristol and share with the team, your insights. And it's not just about what we build into the tools, but it's about how we respond to threats. There is no device that is 100% secure. We believe very strongly that we are supporting and being fully transparent in every vulnerability that is either found through our bug bounty programs with the devices as well as with our supplies. We really strive to be fully transparent and responsive to customers when and if vulnerabilities raise their ugly heads. This is something that is absolutely critical. Manufacturers are responsive and aligning with, of course, cybersecurity regulatory dynamics at play.
Yes, and on that point, really, we're seeing from a research aspect that print security is gradually moving higher on the agenda. We've always seen it as almost the kind of overlooked area of security, and as you mentioned before, the weakest link in that overall IT security chain. But I think more recently, as a result of perhaps the print nightmare exploit and some other exploits around the print environment, IT managers becoming more aware of the potential for devices to be compromised. And for HP, I know the channel is very critical in terms of how you position security to your customers. And I know there's been a lot of developments in the Amplify program. So in terms of how HP is helping its channel partners, are you seeing security being higher on the agenda for customers in terms of their RFP expectations, and how are you helping the channel address those increasing requirements?
No, it's a great question. And yes, we are. It's interesting. As you mentioned, print security, if you talk to a CISO, print security will be fairly low. They have, for example, there are some companies getting, the security teams are receiving well over 500 million alerts a month. It's like there's alert fatigue and there's tool fatigue, right, in the security space. And those teams are really looking for efficiencies. Some key things that we at HP are doing to help not only raise security, but to really make it much more consumable for our channel partners specifically. That's where really we have a very focused approach, helping raise the level of awareness of security among our channel partners so they can easily communicate that in a confident way to all of their customers. There's one word, and it's simplicity. The nature of security in general and print security is its complexity. That is something that really, there's an art to really boiling that up and making it as simple as possible to understand. And there's a lot on channel partners' minds, right? They have more than just security to contend with. They're really striving to do the best that they can do for their customers. And security is just one aspect of that. So the more we can simplify the message and the clarity of communication to them around what HP offers in terms of not only the device, because there are channel partners that are very focused, and rightly so, on the device and solutions and services they're growing into. We offer full support for those channel partners, and also for the channel partners that are more solutions oriented and security oriented. They're developing and deploying their own service capabilities specifically around security to raise the bar for SMBs who don't have, for example, the IT resources and budgets that enterprises have. The threats are the same coming to both groups. So it's really an important thing as a manufacturer that we are fully supporting the success of our partners, and in turn, looking beyond the partner to their customer and how we can ensure that they are enabled to really over-deliver on protection and security in this current environment. And it's only going to get more complicated from a threat landscape, and you're well aware of that. What we've done at HP, I say simplification. We talk a lot in the industry about zero trust. And zero trust can be a bit of a black hole. And the reason people don't understand, well, what do you mean by zero trust? Because it is a journey, not a destination. It is a set of principles that you follow in constructing and planning and implementing your infrastructure. That it would be important to look holistically at the endpoints of the network, not just the communications and network devices that form the broader zero trust network architecture. So at HP, our idea was to really focus on how can we complement that NIST concept, but do it from a print and endpoint perspective. So we have created the zero trust print architecture. This is our articulation, and we believe in best practices and principles of how to plan, implement, and deploy zero trust principles at the endpoint. We have worked for a number of years in building zero trust optimized capabilities, not only in the printer, but looking around the printer. We're bringing to the channel and also to direct customers the zero trust playbook. We talk about zero trust, everybody has their own definition, and so it's very confusing for people. The playbook articulates, it takes a 1-year period, it breaks it up into 2-month segments, and we are focused on providing a true blueprint for customers and channel partners to align their endpoint infrastructure with the actions they need to take at each of these phases, the outcomes they are seeking and should consider seeking from each of those components, and the measurement and metrics they're going to use over the long term to manage and consistently evolve their zero trust journey. It's all about never trust, always verify. Or another way to think of zero trust is it is trusted communication over an untrusted network. So these are things that we're trying to simplify this idea and principle journey of zero trust and make it very crystal clear what individual channel partners and customers can do to deliver zero trust at the endpoint with whatever flavor they want. We're really excited about this capability. We feel definitely raised the bar in terms of simplification and clarity around zero trust with our zero trust print architecture and the playbook.
Yeah, and I think this zero trust playbook approach is definitely a really valuable resource in the industry for, as you say, both channel partners and customers, because we have seen, as you say, zero trust is a bit of a black box, and there's been very sort of mixed messaging about what it really means and how it applies in the print environment. And I think there does need to be more clarity around how that can actually be a valuable outcome for customers who may already have a zero trust approach for their IT environment. So how does print fit into that? So I think that's really great. And I think particularly with HP having led the market in terms of security for some time, what we're seeing now is that because the hardware is becoming or increasingly commoditized in terms of security features, I think these kind of approaches and additional resources for customers can really help them understand the differentiation of HP's approach. So so I think in the show notes we'll put any links that or to resources that HP has published on its website. We can include links onto the show notes for the podcast. But I think that's definitely a very interesting development for HP.
That's great. We were talking about AI, and it's also this idea of zero trust. It's kind of this convergence. We have a capability that allows customers and channel partners to really manage, and this is key, is really managing endpoints seamlessly and in a smart way. Like with AI, we incorporated AI in our smart device services capability to do predictive analytics and predictive servicing. These are the kinds of things across the fleet that are absolutely critical you're going to see moving forward. And these are the kinds of things where AI will be really effective in applying to the breadth of data flowing from devices and managing threats and notifications and alerts and these kinds of things to do forensics and remediate security threats. So a lot of exciting activity and things we're doing to not only bring in AI, but also to really simplify the complexities that we have here as well.
Yeah, and I think that's, a key opportunity for HP because it has the personal systems business, the print business, as well as the workforce solutions. And I think being able to treat all those areas under a single platform is really beneficial for customers and channel partners in terms of simplicity and flexibility of management, because I think it is becoming more complex and AI is intensifying the cyber threat landscape. So I think, having those flexible and accessible tools for the channel partners is really going to help that security proposition going forwards. It's been really great to understand some of these new developments that HP is focusing on, and particularly zero trust AI, but not just at a device level, at the sort of full document device lifecycle approach as well. And I'd be interested to hear what's next for HP in terms of its security strategy, and also any thoughts on developments in the industry in general from a cybersecurity perspective.
Fundamentally, our future is helping every HP customer stay ahead of evolving threats, and it includes the use of AI where relevant and appropriate. We're also looking at consumer and helping raise the bar in terms of security across our entire print portfolio. We're looking to enhance resilience across zero trust journey, as we've talked about, end to end, really extending our security leadership, not only in device, but in solutions and in services across the entire portfolio and for our channel partners and customers. And doing so in a way that is ensuring we consistently have the world's most secure and manageable PCs and printers. Optimizing the role and functionality that printers provide to hybrid workers. And I think that is something that is going to be an ongoing challenge and opportunity for us, is to ensure that we're not adding complexity, but we're really streamlining and optimizing their security no matter where they are. And it's working from anywhere. We've already implemented ways to help educate consumers using their printers from a security standpoint. And what I mean by that is, if you purchase one of our consumer printers, a DeskJet, for example, or an Envy, when you are in the setup mode, the device does a check of the encryption level of the Wi-Fi connection that device is connecting to. And it will provide a notification on the control panel that says, we recommend you increasing the level of security on their connection and with the router itself. So we're looking at ways to not only educate, but to streamline security on the consumer side. We're also integrating and simplifying security, of course, as we've talked about, for channel partners. And that's something we will continue to do, to help them adopt security in a way that's just seamless for them and simple to deploy and implement, and also of value to them and their business. Those are the key things that we look forward to. I think you're going to see even greater integration across the broader endpoint spectrum from HP, including personal systems and print. I'm also going to share out that there's a lot we're doing on the large format and 3D print side as well. In terms of threats and things coming down the pike, there are things that we are preparing for that I think customers are going to be very pleased that they know that we have their backs when some of these upcoming threats occur. And I will share with you, we are consistently looking well beyond a 5-year horizon, and how malware and ransomware and phishing attacks and social engineering are all evolving, and the techniques that are being used by attackers. This all comes into our framework in how we really flush out our roadmaps moving forward from a device, solutions, and services perspective.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting to understand HP's approach in the market. And I think, as you say, that the threat landscape is becoming more complex, and cyber attacks are only likely to increase due to AI and its that's a double-edged sword in terms of how AI can actually be harnessed also to mitigate against those risks. And it seems HP is very well positioned, with the security labs to be ahead of the curve in terms of ongoing monitoring, and obviously its heritage around the personal systems as well. So definitely be watching HP very closely in terms of new product announcements and releases coming over the coming year. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share those updates with me today.
Absolutely. That's been a pleasure.
So thank you for joining today's episode of In the Spotlight with Quocirca. For more information, please visit quocirca.com and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.